Hello guys, DJParson here, and we are back with the next stage of the official World Championship in Through the Ages. And if you, of course, saw my most recent game, I didn't make it out of this second group stage, sadly. But that doesn't hinder us in covering more of the World Championship. There's gonna be a lot of great games. We are now in stage 3, as I said, and there's only 100 players left. And after this stage, it's gonna go down to 40 players. And I think we have one more group stage, and after that, it will be a elimination tournament. So a lot of more games to come and a lot of great players, as is also promised in this game, because we are gonna look at a very, very good game. So let's load into that. And here we can see it's none other than DANeo and LaoHuang, two really top players. A lot of you probably know DANeo from his own YouTube channel. I don't think he will be covering this game. If he does, then you get two perspectives on the same game, which is also fine. And then we have LaoHuang. I don't think he needs much of an introduction. The most experienced player of TTA and also one of the best. Let's get hyped for this match here. Very exciting game of the TTA tournament. Let's take a quick look at the leaders and wonders. We can see Acropolis already grabbed. We also have Library and Roman Roads. There is Gutenbeast and the Shakespeare. We have Joan of Arc, but no Bach. We have Marlene. We have Fleming, Bill Gates, Hollywood. Yeah, this could be a culture game. We do have Shakespeare, but no other high culture leader. Darwin could work. And then with Gutenberg, people could be setting up for that, for those printing presses, and then follow up with Fleming. We also have Marlene and Chaplin plus the Hollywood. So that could get contested if it indeed becomes a culture game. But we also have military, Barbarossa, Joan of Arc, the Great Wall. The Suez Canal is here, same as Cook and Isabella. So colonies are open. So we have a lot of different approaches you can take here. Maria, Catherine, military leaders. So we shall see where this game will take us. So yeah, DANeo has taken the Acropolis. And then LaoHuang will go for Confucius. Yeah, grab a good leader. Especially the Chinese players really like to play with Confucius. And this also means that DANeo doesn't have a leader on the first row. So he has to decide, does he go for Sun Tzu now or does he wait until next turn? And looks like he will be waiting because he builds the mine, increases pop, grabs urban growth and fragility. And then probably either go Homer next turn or Boudica. And this will mean Library and Roman Road stay on 2. So these players, of course, they are super experienced. And in the early game, one of the most important parts is keeping these good cards on the second row. He does give him Engineering Genius on 1, but he couldn't do much there, I think. And then Library and Roman Roads on 2 here. LaoHuang will grab the Engineering Genius, increase pop. So he will miss out on HA wonders completely. DANeo has made sure of that. And then the development of trade routes is opened. And DANeo will indeed go for Homer. Can increase pop, build that lab, and start building on the Acropolis. So he doesn't elect Homer yet, but you don't have to do that. Homer, you don't need to use him immediately. You have some time for him. And then he's also, I think, with building the first stage of the Acropolis, he can just finish this next turn. So the thing is, LaoHuang needs a wonder, and he could be looking at the Great Wall because that's the first one from H1 that has come out. There are other good ones, Universitas and Forbidden City, mainly. But yeah, now LaoHuang has to decide, does he go for Great Wall now? And if not, then DANeo can just grab that on his turn after finishing the Acropolis. And LaoHuang will decide to go for Code of Laws instead, and the irrigation, as well as build the lab. And now I'm going to be super interested in DANeo's play if he goes for the Great Wall, especially with this free warrior that he can get, that LaoHuang could not take. DANeo has a very good setup for the Great Wall now, could even follow up with Barbarossa, make this a very heavy military game. He is set up relatively nicely for that. Of course, we don't see his card draw, if he has drawn any tactics, any strength events, but with Homer, Great Wall and Barbarossa, or I don't even need Barbarossa, but Great Wall, Free Warrior and Homer could really go for a little bit of a strength push. So I'm going to be very interested in seeing what DANeo chooses to do here. He will open the development of markets, then finish the wonder, elect Homer, and does decide not to go for the Great Wall. Okay, but grabs a drama instead. Also doesn't decide to take the free rocks from Homer, so okay, interesting. He decides he doesn't want the Great Wall. Could mean that LaoHuang grabs that next turn now. He could then go for Barbarossa as well. Yeah, of course he's gonna use the Code of Laws probably. Has enough science for that. But yeah, let's go back to DANeo. He decides he wants the drama, he wants to increase the pop. LaoHuang will open the development of settlement. Develop the Code of Laws as we expected. Go for the Great Wall and Barbarossa. Yeah, elect him. Start building a couple of warriors with Barbarossa, getting out of corruption. I mean, he also has an okay setup for this. He's missing some parts. Barbarossa is a leader who has a lot of potential if he has all the parts together, and you don't have that all the time. He needs military actions, food, and happy faces. He has happy face from the Great Wall, and that is a great wonder with Barbarossa. He has the food and irrigation, but he's missing the military actions and maybe a couple of extra happy faces. But I like this. He can use them 2 times this turn, can use them again next turn. Has the irrigation, as I said. Just has to be careful that he gets enough military actions. So DANeo plays, and the first card that is revealed here is 1 extra science for both players. And then he decides to go for Gutenberg. Will he also build that lab? Yeah, he will, using Gutenbeast to build that lab for 0 civil actions and an extra, 0 civil actions and 1 rock less to pay. And now he's probably hoping to get the monarchy next turn, which could be something that LaoHuang wants to deny. We will see. And then DANeo also with drama and urban growth and the breakthrough. So he has a lot of science here. He hasn't developed anything yet and has a breakthrough in hand and is producing 3 science. So yeah, pretty interesting. But yeah, one danger could be versus Barbarossa with the Great Wall. Might get some trouble. He does have the Acropolis and the free warrior. That at least is good. He is at 3 strength, but we shall see if that's enough to defend. Reds come out. Okay, at least they lose the same food, so that seems pretty fair. LaoHuang probably would have liked it to maybe use Barbarossa right now, but he also doesn't need to. He can just finish the Great Wall, and then he doesn't have any rocks anyway. And he has the irrigation, so he will get the extra food back at some point. And he will deny the monarchy and grab a breakthrough on his own. Yeah, I like that. If he goes for the monarchy now, or in 2 turns, and then with a breakthrough he can also go for irrigation soon, then he does get his extra military actions, and with the code he will be at 6 civil actions, which is pretty good. And now he also goes up to 6 strength. DANeo skips politics, grabs alchemy with Gutenberg, and will develop the drama. So he's unimpressed. He's not impressed by the strength that LaoHuang has, but LaoHuang hasn't revealed a tactic. If he had the Legion, he would go up to 8 strength, and then he would be threatening. But at 3 to 6, it's not that dangerous. Just 1 defend card and DANeo is safe. So he decides, okay, I want the drama, and start that culture production. And then he grabs the knights and the cartography. Yeah, he has a lot of science. He can reveal his tactic, okay. He will reveal the phalanx. Of course, that will give LaoHuang something to copy, but he doesn't really have the science to go for knights as well. And with his Great Wall, of course, the knights aren't that great anyway. And for DANeo, yeah, just get a couple of technologies, cartography. Maybe he has played a colony already, and maybe, yeah, as we said, there's Suez Canal and a lot of synergy for colonies. Good Harvest comes out. That could be good for LaoHuang. I mean, again, both regain food they lost to those rats. No one has upgraded their food production yet. But LaoHuang could use this with Barbarossa if he wants to. But he decides he wants to upgrade food or develop. Okay, skips the monarchy. I could, of course, set up for monarchy revolution. This could be what he does here, because yeah, Barbarossa has really good synergies with revolutions, because you can still increase population and build military with Barbarossa, and then he will upgrade food, so he has enough population to do something with Barbarossa. DANeo will reveal one more science for everybody, and let's see if he goes for theocracy. He only has to pay 2 science for it, but of course it still costs 2 civil actions to grab and develop. And he decides to go for knights. He's going up to 9 strength, so yeah, he defends the culture he has built up at this point. He will have good science. He hasn't upgraded food or rock yet, but he will have pretty good science production and a lot of strength. Mainly because LaoHuang doesn't have a tactic yet. And then DANeo with the extra strength from the acropolis and the cartography is going up to 9 strength. And he also will grab that bureaucracy, not developing it yet, but maybe later. So LaoHuang does go for the revolution, will build a knight, will build a warrior and an upgrade one. Okay, go up to 10 strength, so he becomes the strongest and gets that monarchy for just 2 science. And with that, H2 will start. Let's see if DANeo will push. No, he won't. He grabs the iron, can develop that and upgrade 2 times, or once, and upgrade a philosophy to alchemy with Gutenberg as well. And then he can still grab a card. Which one will it be? Engineering Genius. Yeah, 3 rocks. He could go for... I don't think he should go for Universitas, but the H2 wonders can also be good with the Engineering Genius. Inhabited, okay. So of course colonies. Both players have something for colonies. LaoHuang has Barbarossa. You can easily rebuild military when sending it away for territories. And DANeo has the cartography, so we see naturally some pretty high bids here. 5+ from DANeo. He has to send away the knight and a card, plus the 2 colonization that he has. So yeah, relatively expensive, but still a great deal. Just 1 knight and a very good colony for him. LaoHuang will go for the iron as well, so you will start upgrading that and then grab the Universitas as well. Yeah, I think I like that. It could be a little bit too late. He still needs a lot of rocks here. If you want to usually when you go for irrigation and iron, you want to upgrade these. So he still needs 6 rocks to upgrade his bronze and 2 for the irrigation. So that is 8 rocks plus the 9 from the Universitas now. So he has 17 rocks planned that he needs to spend on his infrastructure. So that is a lot. That will take him a couple of turns to produce. Of course, when he goes for the iron upgrades, he will be producing more and more. But yeah, that is a lot of investment that is still ahead of him. I still like it. He just has to be careful that he gets those rocks. Will get a reserves here that can help him. He has the civil actions that can, for example, give him extra production earlier. So if he goes for the iron first, that can be quite good. So DANeo will rebuild the knight, grab selective breeding and justice system. Both really good for him. As we said, he has a lot of science. Justice system is in general a really good technology. And selective breeding, of course, he needs population. There is no ocean liner. He does have the colony now, so his population is fine, but of course you still want to get the selective breeding when you have the chance. You will then also go for that theocracy with getting that justice system. That becomes a better option, I would argue. I think I like that here. After picking up the justice system, you can go for the theocracy, especially because he only had to pay 2 science for it. And that will give him the extra military action. So more card draw in H2 is really important. Without this, he would be still looking at two military actions, which is not great. Especially because he had to rebuild a knight, so he would only be drawing 1 card here. And then he upgraded 1 more alchemy with Gutenberg, so getting even more science and has enough next turn for the justice system. So I like this turn quite a lot. He is weaker though, or same strength, but on LaoHuang's turn he will be weaker. And we will see that the uncertain borders is revealed, yeah? Yeah, that hurts. Both have invested quite a bit into military. They are both at the same strength, but LaoHuang will win this very important event. The uncertain borders is probably the harshest event in the H1 deck. DANeo doesn't have any happy face problems, so it's maybe okay for him. He wouldn't have gotten extra population next turn anyway, and he has selective breeding, so it is fine. It doesn't give him huge problems here, but he's definitely not happy for losing that one yellow cube. LaoHuang getting one. Talking about LaoHuang, he has upgraded one swordsman just to be stronger, so that one extra strength. Grabs cannons, breakthrough. I would love to see the, yeah, just grab these yellow cards. This is great, this is really great. As I said, he has a lot of resources he has planned already, where he needs to spend them. So getting extra rocks here, the efficient upgrade is a free upgrade from bronze to iron. The wave could be 6 rocks. This is really a lot of extra rocks that he spends usually on, or normally on the universitas, but now he has the potential to get it back if he falls behind in strength. So really like this. Then he will increase pop and hopefully, or probably, yeah, upgrade 1 iron. Very strong, very strong. Only problem for him at the moment is no tactics. So yeah, even upgrading the 1 warrior hurts him a little bit because he only has 3 MAs. So now he will just be drawing 2 military actions and not 3. And he definitely needs a new tactic. Maybe he has one already. Of course, we don't see that here. He has grabbed the cannons, so he could go for defensive army, which would be the dream for him with the Great Wall. But we will see when he will reveal that. DANeo is weaker, won't push, can upgrade the last alchemy, upgrade 1 more iron and go for Darwin. Yeah, Darwin is really strong for him here. He has no downside from Darwin because he doesn't have any religions, so he doesn't lose happy phases here. He will get extra civil actions from him because now the technologies to grab are cheaper by 1 civil action if they're on 2nd or 3rd row. And civil actions is one of the things he definitely wants, he definitely needs. And he will be producing 3 culture, so we see he's quite a big bit ahead in culture now. 31 versus 12 and 7 production to 1. So he starts with the culture production, or he has started already, and now he gets even more from his leader and some civil actions if he wants to grab more technologies, which he can definitely do with his 6 science production. So LaoHuang will push again and open the foray. Yeah, now the second deck here is full of strength events, and that is turning out great for him. There was the uncertain borders, now the foray, give him extra rocks. So yeah, I had some concerns that he would spend too many rocks, for example, on universitas here, but he can finish it now with the extra rocks from the foray, and then even upgrade the second or the last iron. I'm surprised by the journalism a little bit. That seems a little bit like a hate draft for DANeo, but I don't know if DANeo has the rocks to go for that really. Of course, LaoHuang needs a new leader and he needs to catch up in culture, so maybe he's planning to go for Shakespeare. He has the strength covered easily, so DANeo can't really go for military, go for war or something, because LaoHuang does have that Great Wall, cannons in hand and wave, so he's safe in that regard. And now with the journalism, he's probably thinking of going for Shakespeare to catch up in culture. Which is, yeah, interesting move, but yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see how that will work out for him. There's still both operas, so he's guaranteed to get the Shakespeare journalism and opera combo, and yeah, we shall see if that is the correct way for him. The alternative probably would have been grab the breakthrough here, use the reserves, maybe upgrade 1 more food. The second one is still not upgraded. He still needs happy faces as well, so I think, yeah, maybe Shakespeare is great for him with the extra happy face that he will need pretty soon. And then, as I said, he's still the strongest, doesn't have to be afraid. And then having Shakespeare and not being afraid of military is a great position to be in. DANeo will solve his last thing that he needs, which is food. He has everything else basically covered. He wants to upgrade the 3rd iron and the second selective breeding here probably, but he also needs to grab a couple of cards. He will grab the cavalryman, only has to pay 1 civil action for it, and that means LaoHuang will be left without any cavalry, also doesn't have knights, and then breakthrough and architecture for DANeo here. So LaoHuang can push again. He's still the strongest just by the 1 strength and will open the scientific breakthrough. Okay, that is a lot of extra science for both 4 and 6. That can mean that LaoHuang could go for journalism this turn, but he goes to navigation instead. Okay, I mean he has a lot of science here. Yeah, a lot of science. So yeah, navigation, probably good tech. There might be more colonies, maybe even played by LaoHuang himself. He has pushed, or he's played a lot of these cards here. So navigation should come in pretty nicely for him, especially because he has a lot of warriors and no tactic for them yet. And he has the wave, so yeah, I like that very much. He can even rebuild the military while he still has Barbarossa. And then with the reserves, I think he had to play, can also go for 1 journalism. So now he's at 6 science production and the opera. And when he gets Shakespeare, he will be able to build these operas quite cheap, which is going to be really, really good for him. I mean, they're not going to be that cheap because he doesn't have architecture, but these operas will only cost 6 rocks for him, which is, yeah, relatively good deal. He can build 1 each turn. And now we see DANeo going for the Suez Canal right off the bat. He does have architecture and the engineering genius. So I would expect him to use the engineering genius now. Yeah, before he loses that at the end of the age. And then one selection left, he could either... I mean, there's a lot of great cards here on the deck. Engineering genius, I mean, that doesn't really work that nicely for him. He doesn't have the 4 rock step anymore. So he will upgrade iron. So that also works fine. That will give him enough rocks to also finish the Suez Canal next turn. Even with the architecture, that will be just 1 civil action. And then he will have a lot of rock production, especially when he finishes the Suez Canal and gets another colony. He will be at 8 rock production, which is really, really nice. And then DANeo can push again, and there's the vast territory. And of course, we see even higher bids this time. They both have 3 and 2 colonization force, and they go up to 8 and 9 plus from DANeo, which is, ooh, that is nice for him. Just the 1 warrior and 3 cards for the vast territory. That could have been way more expensive, but this is a very good deal. And then he grabs strategy. Develops, LaoHuang grabs strategy, develops it, upgrades 1 irrigation, and build or upgrade 1 swordsman. Yeah, here's the problem that Shakespeare did not come out. Shakespeare is a little bit shy this game, so he will lose Barbarossa at the end of the turn because H3 will start. And then yeah, the strategy, then you would have gotten that easily. That would be really, really good for him. Because he has so much science, he could have grabbed it for less civil actions with Darwin. And LaoHuang, yeah, he needs more military actions. I mean, doesn't need it. He has 3 without it. But strategy is still a strong tech. And then probably didn't have too much else he would have wanted here. He will have corruption. Oh no, maybe he didn't have corruption. Maybe that was before. But yeah, H3 will start and LaoHuang loses Barbarossa. He has quite the happy face problem, but Shakespeare should solve that when he is there. DANeo will finish that Suez Canal and go for the wealthy territory. Not the best one, but it's definitely okay. And now with the vast territory that he just won, he even is up to 9 rock production turn. And then he will go for rifleman. He has a lot of food as well from the vast territory, a lot of population. So he will go up to 14 strength. Misses out on this first H3 card draw, only has 1 MA here left to draw. So that hurts a little bit, but the rest here is completely fine. He needs strength to defend. LaoHuang is at 17. If he didn't build up military, he would be in danger of an aggression. And of course you don't want that. So yeah, using this turn to go for the riflemen, upgrade them, save yourself from a little bit of aggressions or whatever. Pretty good turn, finishing the Suez Canal, having 9 rock production a turn now. LaoHuang opens the next territory, and this time he's able to win it for 10 plus. Ooh, that's really, really expensive. That is so expensive, man. 4 swordsmen. That is so much strength for him. These all give 3 strength because of the Great Wall. I don't know if I like that too much, Mr. LaoHuang. He probably has a new tactic. Like if he has fortifications, maybe this can be fine. But I mean, he can also use the wave, but just feels a little bit too much. Yeah, you want to deny the developed territory from the opponent who has Suez Canal. But 10 plus, I mean, I guess he got pretty unlucky that he hasn't drawn a single colonization card here. Because he would have used it, but still, that is just a little bit too expensive. Maybe he was just hoping to bait DANeo into paying too much. But yeah, it didn't work out. I mean, what did DANeo bid? Probably he sent a rifleman that would put him at 5. And then one card maybe is 7, and then another rifleman. Would he really have sent that much? Or has he drawn... I mean, if this one card that DANeo has drawn is a colonization card, that is, of course... fortunate for him. Yeah, I'm surprised by the strength that DANeo was able to bid here. But probably a great call from him, making LaoHuang pay quite a bit. And now we shall see LaoHuang rebuild those cannons. Or rebuild the military as cannons and then probably show a tactic. No, doesn't show the tactic yet. I would expect that he has fortifications. If not, this is a big gamble. Because, yeah, he doesn't have cavalrymen, so he would need tanks if he's hoping to go for mechanized army. Could also hope to go for entrenchments or positional army, but then he still needs the modern infantry. So these two technologies would be a must then for him, or one of those. So I would expect him still to have the fortifications, and he's just not showing it. Yeah, but this delays the Shakespeare so much. If he had lost this territory, he would be looking at a lot of strength still with his warriors. That would mean that DANeo has lost a lot of strength, and he would need to rebuild his strength first, and then LaoHuang could go for Shakespeare this turn. So I'm not convinced by the 4 swordsman play. Yeah, but we will see if it turns out to be good. I'm not convinced yet, though. DANeo gets the military theory for 1 civil action. That is so great for him. Thanks to Mr. Darwin, of course, and then cannon as well, efficient upgrade, and the patriotism here. So yeah, okay, just go for the super good military theory and load up on a couple of cards, cannons. Of course, we want cannons, efficient upgrade, and patriotism. He actually doesn't touch the modern infantry or tanks. So if LaoHuang doesn't have fortifications, he will grab modern infantry or tanks then, or even both, to enable these other H3 technologies, tactics for him. But DANeo probably thinks the same. If LaoHuang does this, builds so many cannons, he probably has the fortifications, and then it's not worth it for DANeo to deny the... I mean, he also would probably need to deny both, which is really expensive, and would make his hand too full. So yeah, I like DANeo's decision. Just ignore the modern infantry and tanks and see what LaoHuang has. So LaoHuang, what do you have? He goes for Shakespeare, grabs the tanks, okay, endowment. Still doesn't get his first pair here. That is a problem. That seems for me the biggest problem with his sending all his military away. Now he has, yeah, he has to grab these cards, grab tanks. The endowment, okay. I'm not convinced why he... I mean, endowment is a great card. 6 culture for free. But if he had gone for the opera here and built it, that also would be 4 culture production, or 5 culture production. And he already has built that for next turn. So yeah, I don't think the endowment makes too much sense here, to be honest. Because there is 2 civil actions that you need to spend. And he could have just gone for the opera and built one. That would be 1 less culture. But you have to build the opera at some point. So I'm not convinced by the endowment. But maybe he wants to also... Let's see, maybe he wants to build 1 more cannon. Okay, builds 1 more cannon, wants to get stronger. I guess then it makes sense. Oh, and he doesn't have fortifications. He has the mobile artillery, which he will show. So yeah, he did get those tanks then. Can go for them. But looking at the culture lead from DANeo, I mean, it's not that big. We're looking at 66 to 38 after this turn. It's not huge. And with Shakespeare, you have a lot of potential to come back in culture. But yeah, he needs to start going for that pretty soon. And next turn, it looks like he wants to go for tanks, maybe not the opera. he doesn't have that many rocks anymore. He had to spend, I mean, he got 1 cannon for free from the wave, but then he spent 15 rocks on all of those cannons. Those could be 1 extra pair of opera and journalism. So yeah, of course he did use the developed territory to send away all of his swordsmen to get cannons, which is a lot better for his tactics. So from that standpoint it makes sense. And if he didn't have any tactic for his swordsman, maybe it was still a correct move, but he has problems with his rocks now. He's playing against someone who is producing 9 a turn and has 20 in the bank, and he's struggling because he doesn't get any extra rocks this turn, doesn't get any extra yellow cards. So he only has 6 rocks a turn. If he wants to build a tank next turn, still no opera. So yeah, he has some problems. I would favor DANeo at this point. DANeo will go for cannon and build 1. Upgrade his food production. Is there the red cross? No red cross. He just wants the food still to get yeah, more population. I mean, as we said, he has a lot of rocks. Then if you also have a lot of food, you can build a lot of military or whatever you want. So like that. And he gets stronger here. LaoHuang can go for the democracy. Okay. That's also interesting that DANeo decided not to go for the democracy himself. He could have grabbed that, I think, for 2 selections with Darwin. He would have denied that from LaoHuang, and he could go for that pretty cheaply, thanks to his Acropolis. He could have built a couple of extra dramas and then get the democracy pretty cheap. But this way, LaoHuang will get it. We'll grab reserves. Come on, build an opera. Okay, I mean, yeah, LaoHuang has a lot of information what these cards are. I think he played probably both of them. So if it's refugees, it's really important to get stronger, but it just hurts. He has the opera, he has Shakespeare. I would have liked to see him to build 1 opera, but yeah, he decides the strength is more important here to build that extra swordsman to get stronger than him. And then Revolutionary Idea and Engineering Genius as well. And then yeah, I like the reserves pickup. With the reserves you can go for 2 tanks. That is threatening and good defensive mode. I mean, DANeo has 23 rocks and a lot of MAs. If he goes for war here, even, especially with his patriotisms, he can go for all H3 tactics. If he develops his cavalryman, can go for modern army even. And that seems a little bit like what he's setting up for. Then he has a lot of potential. So yeah, being able to defend by going for 2 tanks, I think the reserves is really important. That's also why he went for the swordsman instead of cannon probably, so he has enough rocks for 2 tanks next turn. And then yeah, maybe he's right that he can't afford to go for opera at this point. The problem still stands that he is behind in culture. It's still not that big of the difference. But yeah, for DANeo, he just escalates military and then keeps his culture lead. Okay, no modern army, but the Napoleonic army instead, going up to 38 strength. So that will be quite hard for LaoHuang to overtake him now. And then communism and air forces for DANeo, who is looking super threatening. LaoHuang probably can't go for culture next turn either, because DANeo, with the air force now and the tactic, next turn he can just declare war, go for 2 air forces, has more than enough rocks for that. And each air force is 5 plus 7, so 12 strength, 24 strength. That is a lot of strength, plus 38. So LaoHuang is in danger. Let's see how he can respond to that. He will also get air forces in time and can go for tanks. Okay, now he goes. Now he goes for opera. That's interesting. Builds 1. Grabs, at least he gets the military build-up. That is good. Then he goes for Fleming as well. And pro sports. And plays a couple of yellow cards here. The Revolutionary Idea. Okay, decides not to go for air forces. Yeah, I mean, he still needs a lot of tanks. If he hasn't drawn a new tactic, he needs 4 tanks to have an efficient military with his mobile artillery. And that is a lot of rocks. With the military build-up and reserves, he's at 10 rocks plus 8 plus 4. That is 1822. That is enough for 3 tanks, but not 4. And 3 tanks probably won't be enough to defend. So I think if DANeo has a war here, he can go for it. So let's see if he will do that. Or if he will just push. No, he does go for the war of a culture. And then I think we're going to see 2 air forces, maybe even more. 1 air force, destroy a lab. And then 1 and 3 air force, so 67 strength. Grab the mech egg as well. Yeah, 67. How can LaoHuang defend against that? That is the big question here. I mean, maybe he has information that something else, like if this is not strength related, but it could be economic progress or something. Let's find out, I guess. Strategic territory, which LaoHuang is able to win. Oh, this turned out great for him. He only needs the 1 swordsman, and maybe he even has gotten a new tactic with this, who knows. So he will go for tanks, destroys labs, go for 1 tank, another tank, and has drawn a new tactic. So he has the mechanized army now, so he only needs 2 tanks and the 4 cannons. And he will go for Fleming. And what else? Destroy 1 more mine. Oh no, 2 more. Okay, go up to 60. He does manage to go up to 62 strength, so he won't lose that much culture. But I'm afraid DANeo with his culture lead, even getting more now, stealing. Yeah, he will steal 10 culture from LaoHuang. That probably, I mean, it is still relatively close, but neither player can go for wonder. No, because all wonders will be left actually. DANeo does have 13 rocks, but the age will end next turn anyway, so no wonders for either of these players. LaoHuang has a lot more production now. He's at 14 and DANeo only is at 5. So he can grab multimedia and then he will go up to his 80 culture. But of course now he loses 10. Age 4 will start. DANeo loses Darwin, going even lower in culture production, and after this war 95 to 70. I mean, who knows, who knows. We have only the 1 impact from LaoHuang at this point, if that's a good one for him. He produces 14, so he's theoretically at 84. DANeo's at 102. Yeah, that's hard to catch up to. 84 to 200 and 102 is really hard to catch up to. But let's see. Independence Declaration, LaoHuang has to lose a colony. I don't think that is a big deal for him. Yeah, he can just lose either of these, probably not a big deal. And then DANeo, what does he do? He could go for Marlene. Goes for food. Okay, of course this is a pretty big signal. There's only 1 impact from DANeo in here anyway, so that is very, very likely the impact of agriculture, because he went for these. It also means he skips the leaders, but he probably made the math here and decided that this is the best move for him. He will solve his happy faces, so if there's input of happiness, it won't be a disaster. It also won't be great. The alternative, of course, would have been to go for Marlene here, but yeah, he decides to just go for 1 extra drama. Still missing on the civil actions. He never really was able to solve that. He was on 5 for a pretty long time. Coming back to, he decided not to go for democracy. Yeah, I mean, with the Acropolis, it doesn't feel great when you're still on the theocracy at the end of the game, because usually you want to have one of the great age 3 governments. But yeah, I guess here he never found the time and went for military instead. Had to put a lot of science into air forces and military theory, so that's probably why he wasn't able to go for a new government form then. Also, he never had that many urban buildings, so the government weren't that cheap. So LaoHuang, what does he do with his last turn here? He will push another event, another impact. Will open the Cold War, which won't make any difference. DANeo gets 6 extra science, but can't do anything with it. And then LaoHuang has, yeah, at least he can build another irrigation, so he will get the +4 culture from the input of agriculture. So this impact will not be a disaster for him. It still will be a lot better for DANeo, but not by that much at least. And then destroy 1 cannon when he loses the input of strength anyway. And yeah, he knows what impacts are in. You can be 99.9% sure that DANeo has played input of agriculture. And he's only played 1 impact. LaoHuang has played 2, so he knows 100% or 99.9% which impacts are in. So this is just yeah, pretty easy for him to decide what will be the best course of action from him. And let's see. So it is. This gets close. Maybe there's hope. There's only 3 impacts, and the input of culture, of course, comes from LaoHuang, so he gets up to 97 versus 104. Then we have the input of science as well, 107 to 104. So LaoHuang overtakes DANeo for a second, but then with the input of agriculture, indeed, 8 to 14. So 115 to 118. Super close here in the end. Super close. Yeah, closer than I thought after that war. But yeah, LaoHuang had 14 culture production and DANeo was down to 4 or 6 now in the end. And he didn't lose that much, LaoHuang. So yeah, it's hard to do the math now if we consider if the opera was still the right move. He did give him a lot of culture production. LaoHuang did get from Shakespeare and from Fleming a lot of culture from that one opera that he went for. If he had not done that, he could have defended the war a little bit better, but probably not more than he produced from the opera. I think he produced 3 times from the opera. Each time it should have been 5 cultures or 15 culture for that single opera. So yeah, really exciting, really close match here in the end, with 2 really good impacts from LaoHuang, of course. He had the input of science and input of culture, which he was able to win. That's not enough for him to win the whole game, but yeah, really close one. Great game of the 3rd group stage. If this is the level that we are to expect from the games to come, then you guys are in for a treat. So really exciting to see this one, and we're also going to take a look at their group now, how the standings are after this match. So here in group 4, as you see, they are not finished yet at all. They only have a couple of games completed, but we can see that LaoHuang only has the 1 game finished and is currently on the last position. DANeo has finished 2 games. The one that we saw he was able to win, and the second one not. So yeah, pretty exciting here. Very interesting standings. With DANeo and LaoHuang, they are really big names in the TTA community. But now we see that DANeo, who has he lost against? DANeo lost against Max. So of course, only 3 games finished. We can't read too much into this. But DANeo losing versus Max means that Max is definitely a contender as well. Winning versus DANeo is quite the sign that you're a good player. So yeah, this seems like a really tough group that we should follow here. The first game already was really exciting, and it's going to be amazing to see how these players do. And yeah, this will be all for the first video here. As you see, there are 20 groups. I'm gonna look for the best games that I can find and then show them to you. And yeah, hopefully all of them are exciting and close as the one we've seen. That would be quite the treat. And we can expect, after 2 rounds that have finished already, all of these players are at least good players. Some of them are amazing and some of them are probably a little bit newer, like Leonidas, but we can't rule him out either. He has proven himself in 2 previous rounds that he is a good player, at least. So these games should all be great and all be exciting. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you next time as well.